Hey guys, it's Archon. So we just got some bittersweet news from some of the Diablo 3 fan sites, and I just wanted to share with you guys why we probably haven't been getting many exciting updates recently, and why we probably won't get any big updates for quite a while. Blizzard just held a mixer at their headquarters a few days ago for fan sites of all of their games. I thought this was a really cool idea to bring the fan sites over to Blizzard and just talk to them about upcoming changes for the games, get the feedback of the people from the fan sites, let them ask questions, and then let those fan sites give us the information. And that's what they've done. Here on Diablo Fans, they've listed some bullet points of the exciting topics they talked about. I just want to go over some of those with you. Some of them are old stuff, but some of them kind of exciting. And then also on some page, there's a cool article from the mixer as well. So on Diablo Fans here, first bullet point, developers would absolutely love to add perpetual content like Endless Dungeon. So we've heard a lot about Endless Dungeons over the last few months. It's something I've really wanted. I think it's safe to say that they're working on something. They've said maybe it's not going to be an Endless Dungeon. They've mentioned some of the issues with Endless Dungeons, but it seems like they want some kind of perpetual content, some kind of endgame content that's different from farming Acts 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I think that's really exciting. They do mention here they think it would get boring eventually, and so they're trying to figure out what the end point of the Endless Dungeon would be. I guess it wouldn't be endless if there was an end point, but they feel like there might need to be an end point. If they do add an end point, I just hope that it's really hard. I think it's not going to work if someone's beating the Endless Dungeon in the first month that it comes out. I'm guessing in the expansion, who knows. But I really hope that even the people with the best gear, it's going to take them months to get through, because I just want something to work towards. I want some kind of endgame content that always provides something we can look forward to, something that we're not just clearing and then going, okay, I guess we got to farm it now. We got to go back to farming something else. But it sounds like they're working on something like that. I hope they do it right. They say people tend to ignore anything that doesn't offer a reward. I don't know what they're referring to there, but hopefully when they're making the Endless Dungeon, they plan on having rewards. They point out that they're unhappy with the rewards you get from some of the in-game events. I think most of us could agree with that. They say the monster density changes have made a lot of the random events feel underwhelming. I don't know if the random events were ever that exciting to begin with, but I think it would definitely improve the game if they made them more exciting. They say that all builds being viable is impossible, but they're looking for ways to reward suboptimal builds. That sounds a little different than what I've heard in the past. I know Wyatt Chang has said he wants to make it so there's lots of builds that maybe aren't exactly as viable, but are within 5 to 10% of the most viable builds. I like that a lot more than this reward suboptimal builds, but maybe it's the same thing. Maybe I'm just getting confused with the wording. They're considering implementing mechanics or achievements for using different weapons or skills during boss fights to encourage experimentation. I've never been that excited about achievements, but I know a lot of players are. So you guys tell me what your opinions on that are. I think it's a cool idea to encourage experimentation. Just personally for me, I don't think I would just to get some achievements. I've never really gone after them. And then in the last two bullet points, they just point out that regardless of what skills they add to the game, theory crafters are going to go through and find the most viable ones, and they're going to share them on the internet, and then people are going to feel bad for not using the most viable builds. And that's unfortunate, but I don't think any of us really expect to have hundreds of viable builds per class that are all equal to each other. I think we just want something better than what we have right now. 1 or 2 viable builds per class isn't cutting it. I think we could easily have at least a dozen builds per class that are close enough that you don't feel bad playing them. But that's all the bullet points from Diablo Fans' first post. They made another post later that goes through some more details of the mixer. Most of this is old information. I'll put a link in the description below and you can read through it if you want. I just wanted to point out a few things that I found interesting. During the mixer, they let the fan site attendees play the console version of the game, and they talked about how the item drops are lowered, but the quality of the items is increased. I knew that, but I understand to the extent, I guess. They say of the 5 or 6 attendees playing for 1 hour on Act 1 Nightmare, found 3 to 4 legendary items. 3 to 4 legendary items in an hour on Act 1 Nightmare. So that's pretty crazy. Lots of legendaries in the console version. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for PC version. I don't think it really affects it, but it's just crazy to know how often legendaries might drop on the console version. And then one other thing I hadn't heard was when you play with a friend on the same screen, if you move too far away from your co-op partner, you'll yank him towards yourself in a pretty intuitive manner. This helps a lot with AFK players. So it seems like it could get annoying pulling each other away, but they bring a good point. If your friend's AFK, if you went to the bathroom and you want to keep going, you want to be able to pull them away, and they say it's intuitive, so I'm excited to see what that's really like. So that was all the exciting stuff from Diablo Fans, but like I said, other Fansites also had information, including Diablo.somepage.com. This article, very eye-opening, very bittersweet, and I want to give you guys my opinion on it. The title pretty much says it all. No major content patch is in development for Diablo 3. So us players have been sitting here waiting for some information on 1.0.9, assuming they were going to continue making patches regularly until the game was where they want it to be. They don't even have plans for 1.0.9. Now, they haven't told us whether or not there's going to be a patch 1.0.9, but they say they're working on the major itemization revamp patch. They say the changes to skills are also going to be in that patch. I think this is either going to be patch 1.1 or maybe even the expansion, and they point out that Travis says it won't be done by BlizzCon this November. Now, what Travis actually says is it definitely will not be done before BlizzCon this November. Now, somehow a lot of players have taken that to mean right after BlizzCon, we're going to get the patch. But I don't think that's what that means at all. I mean, Travis seemed very sure that it would not be done before BlizzCon. I think it's unlikely we'd get it this year. As I read this article, the pieces of the puzzle started coming together for me. Now, maybe I'm onto something here, or maybe I'm just wearing a tinfoil hat, but hear me out. In the article, they state that they didn't intend to have as many patches as they have for Diablo 3. Now, of course, this makes sense. They probably thought the game was going to be in a much better state than it was upon release. They probably didn't intend to need as many fixes to get the game to where it is now, and so they've had to add more patches than they originally intended. So if they didn't have to make as many patches, they could have put a lot more focus onto the expansion a lot sooner than they could because of the patches, which means they probably could have gotten the expansion out a lot sooner, maybe even in 2013. And that would completely correspond with the information that GameSpeak got, that they've internally had a goal to release it in 2013 and then had to push it back to 2014. They've said that they're focusing more on long-term development. After Project Titan was rebooted, they took some of the developers from there and put them onto Diablo 3, and now we're being told that there's no major patches in development. It seems like it's very clear that they're putting all of their focus on the expansion, and it seems to make sense. Now that all the small, easy-to-fix issues are solved, and they really have an understanding of what the game needs, at least I feel like they do, they see the core issues, they've come up with some solutions, it makes sense to just focus on the expansion and get it out as fast as possible and have it be as good as possible. Now, of course, they could release the itemization patch, the skills patch, one at a time, give us the things that we really want, but the reaction from the players is likely to be, oh great, you fixed one aspect of the game's still broken, and the players would never really appreciate the content. However, if Blizzard really works hard to make an awesome expansion, gets it out as soon as they can, and it really fixes the game, it really gives us the game in the state that we wanted it when it came out, then they could really win back a lot of the players, and they could sell a lot of expansions and fix the game in one go. So I think that's probably their strategy. Again, maybe I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. You guys decide. Let me know in the comments, but it seems like that's what they're doing. Those were all the exciting updates I could find about the Mixer. I'll put links in the description so you can read them for yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button if you did, and I'll have another one for you soon.